Hi, 5th grade. Today's math lesson is lesson 5.8, and it is called Divide with Decimals. So last week we started dividing with decimals. We did one day where the decimals were just inside the house, and then we did another day where the decimals were just outside the house. Today, the decimals are everywhere. They're inside and outside. So we're combining all of our skills that we know, and we're just putting them all together. So really, it's kind of a review, but it's new because we've never seen them all together in both of the different places. But we know how to do both different ways, so we should be okay here. Let's start with number 1. Remember, I cannot divide with a decimal outside the house, so I have to move that decimal to the back. So I need to move it back one spot. Now, if I move that back one spot, before we had just been adding zeros in here because this was a normal number. But now it's a decimal number, so I have to do the same to both. If I move this back one spot, I have to move this back one spot and make sure that I draw my decimal in its new spot. Then I start dividing. So remember, this is just a 9. I can cross out the 0 in the front. How many 9s will fit in 72? 9s into 72. Well, that would be an 8. Multiply. 9 times 8 is 72. I would subtract. That would be a 0. I have nothing to bring down, and I don't need to put my decimal because we didn't go past it. If we passed our decimal, then we would put it up there, but we didn't go past it, so we don't even need to put it. Our answer would just be an 8. Okay, let's try another one. Number 2, remember I cannot divide by a decimal, so I know I need to move this back one spot. And if I move this decimal back one spot, I have to move this one back one spot. I have to do the same thing to both decimals. Then if there's any zeros in front, remember you can X those out so that they're not confusing for us. Now my decimal is right here, and I'm dividing by 6. How many 6s will fit into 37? Well, that would be a 6. Now notice, we're already behind our decimal, so I need to copy my decimal up there into my answer. I'm going to add a 0 up there because the 7 is already behind the decimal, so my decimal has to go here, and then I put my 6 down. All right, 6 times 6 is 36. When I subtract that, I get a 1. I bring down the 2. If I bring down, I have to go again. So how many 6s will fit into 12? That would be a 2. 6 times 2 is 12. Subtract, that would be a 0. Nothing else to bring down, so 0.62. Now, if we stop and think, can we have a remainder today? No. When we're dividing by decimals, you cannot have a remainder. So we know that we should get a 0 each time, or else we have done something wrong. All right, let's go on to number 3. I cannot divide by a decimal, so I need to move, 2 spots this time. If I move it 2 spots outside the house, I have to do the same inside. So move this one back 2 spots. My decimal is going to be right here now. X out those zeros in front if they bother you. How many 4s will go into 36? Well, that would be a 9. 4 times 9 is 36. Swipe, that's a 0. Bring down. As I bring down that 4, I passed my decimal, so I need to put it up there in my answer. How many 4s will go into 4? That would be a 1. That would be 4. And I would get a 0. Nothing to bring down, which is good because I can't have a remainder. 9.1. Alrighty, let's go again with number 4 here. Moving this decimal back 2 spots. If I move it back 2 spots, I need to move this one back 2 spots. Put my decimal in its new spot right there. Now, some of you like to add a 0 back here. Don't add a 0 unless you need to later. First, you want to use exactly what you have because we might not need to add that 0. We only want to add it if we need to. All right, we're dividing by a 2-digit number here, 14. So let's go ahead and round it to a 10. And that's going to fit into 72. So cover up your back numbers. About how many 1s will fit into 7? Well, that would be a 7. Then I need to multiply. Remember, my number is really 14, so I'm doing 14 times 7. I'll do my multiplication pretty quick. 98 is too big. So 7 is too big, which means I need to change it to a 6. So 14 times 6. Do my multiplication. Oh, wow, 6 is still too big. Oh, man. All right, so erase my 6. It's still too big. Let's try a 5. So 14 times 5. Remember, our estimation gets us close, but it's not going to be perfect every time. That's okay. There we go. That's a 70. So subtract 70, which gives me a 2. Bring down my 8. Now, have I passed my decimal yet? Nope, it's still back there, so I'm still good to just go again. About how many 1s will fit into 2? That would be a 2. So put a 2 up top. Then I need to multiply 14 times 2. Doing my multiplication pretty quick. You should be quick at that. Ooh, that is 28, which is perfect. So that would be a 0. I have nothing to bring down. I don't need to put my decimal because we never passed it. So my answer is just 52. I only write my decimal up in my answer if I go past it when I bring something down. Alrighty, we also are going to look at some word problems here today. The hardest part about these word problems is knowing which number goes inside the house, so you have to read it carefully. A sand and gravel company has 12.6 tons of gravel to haul today. Each truck can carry 0.9 tons of gravel. How many trucks will be needed? Well, the total of the thing has to go inside the house. So the total amount of gravel is 12.6. And then we're dividing it by how much each truck can hold, which is 0.9. All right, I cannot divide by a decimal. So remember, move it back 1. If I move this one back 1, I have to move this one back 1. I have to do the same thing to both. Now we're ready to divide. How many 9s will fit into 12? That would be a 1. 9 times 1 is 9. Subtract that. That would be a 3. Bring down my 6. Have I passed my decimal? Not yet, because remember, we made our decimal back here. So I'm good to just keep right on going. How many 9s will fit into 36? That would be a 4. 9 times 4 is 36. So when I subtract those, I get a 0. I have nothing left to bring down. I do not need to put my decimal because we didn't go past it. So my answer is just 14. And then I'm looking for my label. Remember, I'm going to look and find like how many or how much. And then usually what comes behind it is my label. So this time it would be trucks. They're going to need 14 trucks to haul all of that gravel. All right, let's try one more word problem here. I know these notes have went pretty quickly. That's because this is technically review. You're just combining skills that you already know how to do. Number 6, a developer is building an amusement park on a rectangular lot with an area of 1.35 square miles. The length of one side of the lot is 0.45. What is the length of the other side? Okay, remember, the total part has to go inside the house. So the total lot is 1.35 miles divided by the one side, which is 0.45. All right, we can't divide by a decimal, so I got to move it back. I have to move it 2 spots on the outside, which means on the inside I have to do the same. Move it 2 spots. We are dividing by a 2-digit number here, so let's round that. 45 is close to 50. And then I need to look at the whole 135. So how many 5s will fit into 13? Just 2. So now remember, I'm multiplying, but my number is actually 45. So I need to do 45 times 2. 5 times 2 is 10. This multiplication will be pretty quick. That's a 90. Now, 90 is still pretty far away from 135. So I wonder if it could be a 3. Let's try and see. 45 times 3. Looks like it could maybe go more. That would be 15. 135. Ooh, perfect. That's what I needed. So instead of 2, it should have actually been a 3. So I'll change this to a 3. Then I'm going to subtract 135, which gives me a 0. I did not go past my decimal, so I don't need to put a decimal in my answer. I only put it up there if I go past it. So my answer would be 3. And then I got to be careful on my label. It says, what is the length of the other side? Well, measuring length in miles. So 3 miles would be how long that other side is. Okay. Really quick, I want you to hold on just a second. I'm going to grab your assignment page. I do not usually do this on the videos, but this one is a little bit tricky, and our notes did not include one of these problems. So I want to look at your assignment page really quick to finish out this video. I just want to look at number 1, okay? Your assignment page has some like number 1 that we didn't have in our notes. So pay close attention to this. First, I know I cannot divide by a decimal, so I'm going to move it back 2 spots. 1, 2. If I move it back 2 on the outside, I have to move it back 2 on the inside. 1, 2. Uh-oh. I have an empty loop. What do we fill in an empty loop with? A 0. See how we didn't have one of those on the notes? Then I'd be ready to divide. So I'm going to X out these O's in front. How many 7s will fit into 42? That would be a 6. 7 times 6 is 42, which when I subtract is a 0. And remember, once I get that 0, I can look. How many more zeros do I have that I could bring down? 1 more. So I add 1 more in my answer. Or if I kept on working it out, I would bring that down. How many 7s would go into 0? That would be 0. Subtract. And then I would have nothing else to bring down, so I would be done. Either way, I get the same answer. I do not need a decimal because, look, I didn't pass my decimal. It's still back here. I didn't go past it, so my answer would just be 60. You are going to use that also on some more of these. So be careful. If you have an empty loop, you need to add a 0. Okay, you'll want to look at the document of the homework and remembering side below because we did cross some of these out. I just wanted to go through number 1 with you because it was tricky, and that is a good example that we did not have in our notes. So go ahead and look at the homework and remembering assignment and do your very best. Bye!